You've been taught wrong. The worst thing you can do in life is to be somewhere thinking you know something that you don't know. The worst situation you can be in is to be thinking you got this thing right, knowing you're not getting results, knowing that you're not seeing what you're supposed to see in your life, which means you got it wrong, but you're somewhere pretending that you got it right. You're somewhere pretending that you know something you do not know. Now, if you would be honest, you would have to agree that we were taught wrong. I'm telling you right now, I was taught wrong. Instead of people who were taught wrong finally coming into the truth and finally realizing and admitting that they were taught wrong, instead of realizing that, what they did was take the lies that they were taught, and they took the confusion that they were taught, and they took all of that ignorance, and they became the preachers of today. They took all of that foolishness and they became the teachers that you are listening to today. That's why you don't have many pastors who are willing to stand on the word and teach the butt naked truth. You hardly ever hear the truth today. You do hear things that are true. You do hear scriptures that are true. You hear statements, and those statements, some of them are true. But you don't really hear the truth out of too many pastors and teachers today. They are teaching based on the wrong that they were taught themselves. The number one thing that you need to know is the truth about who and what God is, and the truth about who and what you are. That's what you need to know. All of this other stuff is secondary. All of this other stuff does no good if you don't know the truth about God and the truth about yourself. So what you see is today you got preachers and teachers and other folks who are teaching good stuff. Some of this stuff that they're teaching sounds real good. I'll give them that. Some of this stuff that they're teaching makes them sound like they have been studying for 100 years. But if you don't know the truth about God and the truth about yourself, if you don't know what God is and what you are, you need to stop preaching and stop teaching and sit down. Read this. You need to sit down. You hear a lot of teaching today because we were all taught wrong. You hear people who only want to teach on sin, sin, sin. Instead of teaching on somebody and the sin that they are caught in, you should be teaching about the truth of what God is and the truth about what man is. If you jump on this man because he's an alcoholic, even if he listens to you and he stops being an alcoholic, he stops drinking, he is still in a world of trouble because he doesn't know what God is and he doesn't know what he really is. Even if you want to jump on the homosexuals, if they would listen to you and stop sleeping with men and women stop sleeping with other women, guess what? They're still in a world of trouble because you haven't taught them the truth about who and what God is. You haven't taught them the truth about who and what they are. Without knowing the truth about God and the truth about yourself, you will never be able to do the things you should in your life. I have lived it. I lived it for years. You will do good. You will put down the wrong thing. You might last 3 months. You'll stop doing the wrong thing and hanging with the wrong people. You might last 6 months. You'll stop going to the wrong places. You'll stop sleeping around. You'll stop smoking and drinking. You might last an entire year. But you will return if you don't know the truth about God and the truth about yourself. Sometimes I just wonder, what are we doing, man? I just want to ask people sometimes, what are you teaching? Why are you pastoring that church? Why do you even waste your time teaching people this stuff right here? I hear so many teachings that cannot do you any good because you're not being taught the truth about what God is, the truth about what you are. And it's crazy because you see people who really want to be helped. It's crazy because you see people who really do want to make a change. They really do want to live better. But they can't do it. They can't do it because they lack understanding of God and they lack understanding about who they really are. So you're being taught to do a lot of stuff that you can't do. You really need to have a prayer life. Make sure you have a prayer life. There is no way you are about to have a prayer life if you don't understand the truth about God. There is no way you're going to pray the way you should if you don't know the truth about what you really are. Well, you need to come to church. Make sure you don't forsake the assembling of yourselves together. There is no way you are going to attend church on a regular basis and be faithful to a ministry if you don't understand the truth about what God is and the truth about what you really are. Well, you need to be a giver and you need to give the tithes and you need to make sure you're giving an offering. There is no way you're going to be a giver and you're going to constantly and faithfully give the tithe and the offering if you don't know the truth about what God really is and the truth about what you really are. So people are being taught to do all this stuff, and they're being taught and they're struggling to be magnificent in all these different areas. And they're trying their best to do something that they will never do because they don't know God and they don't know themselves. Now you think about that and tell me, were you taught right? Think about that and tell me, were you taught the truth or were you taught a bunch of lies? What is least important is what you hear being taught the most. And what is the most important is what you hear being taught the least or not at all. Yeah, I know you're being taught right today. Yeah, but that don't change the fact that you were taught wrong. If you really want to know the truth, start listening to real pastors. Start listening to God-sent pastors. You have the ability and the opportunity to come into the truth, but you're going to have to drop these fake pastors on their head and start listening to the pastors who will teach you what you don't know. Pastors sent by God who are teaching you what you have not heard. Start listening to God ordained men of God, because I'm telling you, you were taught wrong.